Welcome again to Stribling's New York here on WOR AM Radio 710 on your digital dial and iHeart Media Company. We are joined once again by a regular guest, best-selling author Jon Land is with us on the phone. How are you, Jon?
I'm good, Rob. How about you?
I'm doing well, and we're going to be seeing one another in a little over a month. In less than a month. I'm so bad at math.
No, you had it right. A little over a month. You're absolutely right.
At Thrillerfest. So tell us a little bit about Thrillerfest, because it's something that you are involved with. Are you one of the originators of the, what would we call this, a conference, convention?
I call it, definitely it is a conference for thriller fanatics. It is summer camp for thriller writers. It's an opportunity to mix and mingle and hear and watch panels on which some of the biggest names in the business are participating. It is a great 2 days. Well, it's 4 days. The first 2 days are the craft portion. That's Wednesday and Thursday, July 6th and 7th. And then Thrillerfest itself, which is more fan-oriented, is the 8th and 9th. And what a lineup we have this year. We've got C.J. Box. We've got Walter Mosley. We've got Gillian Flynn. We've got John LaSquaw. We always have Steve Berry, Lee Child, just R.L. Stine, the little names like that. It's just an incredible lineup, and we're honoring, and I'm especially proud of this because we're collaborating on a series together. One of my favorite people in the entire industry and one of the best writers there is out there, and that's Heather Graham. She's going to be our Thriller Master this year, which is our highest honor. So I'm just thrilled for Heather. No one deserves it more, and there's not a nicer person in the world.
Oh, I have to tell you a funny story about Lee Child, because we've had you on the show discussing him. I've discussed him with Robert Crace and, of course, Andy Martin, who's written a book, Reacher Says Nothing, and Reacher Said Nothing. I recently read, and Andy's talked about it, but I just read this thing in Entertainment Weekly where Child said he's a big coffee drinker. The largest number of cups of coffee he's had in a day is 29. And the first time I met him, I thought it was really cool because I bumped into him at Thrillerfest. Actually, you introduced us, and then I was hanging out there, and he goes, "Would you like to go get a cup of coffee?" And I thought, wow, hey, Lee Child wants to get a cup of coffee with me. Then I realized, well, he's probably done this 20 times already today. But I think the thing about that, all joking aside, what's great about Thrillerfest is you walk down the hall or walk into a room and you literally, bump elbows with Lee Child, Scott Turow, R.L. Stine, Jon Land. Everybody is there and accessible, which I find really wonderful.
Mostly people bump elbows with me when they're trying to get to somebody else. But you're absolutely right. And here's the amazing thing. And I know this is going to sound like I'm preachy and that I'm making this up because they're my friends, but this is an incredible group of human beings. They're great people. They're not like acting celebrities or music celebrities or political celebrities. They are accessible, and they genuinely like meeting their fans. Lee Child loves talking to his readers. Same thing with Sandra Brown. It is a very unique community that we've built. And the great thing about International Thriller Writers from a writing standpoint is we came into being so authors who had reached a certain level at the pinnacle could reach down and help others get as high as they are. There's a tremendous spirit of camaraderie, of mentorship, of the thing we're most proud of at ITW, and one of our big events for Thrillerfest is our debut author breakfast. And these were authors who may have been associated with Thrillerfest and ITW for 3 or 4 years, and they've been coming up through the ranks, and they've been trying to get a book published, and every year there's more of them. Last year there were 32. This year, 36 authors are publishing their debut novels who may never have done that if it hadn't been for ITW and Thrillerfest.
How many people attend Thrillerfest?
1,000.
It's a good number of people. It's at the Grand Hyatt Hotel on 42nd Street at Grand Central Station in New York City. What are the dates?
July 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th. But you can get day passes. I think most of the people who are just Thriller fans would they just the Friday and Saturday, starting, of course, Thursday night cocktail party. It can't be a gathering of writers if alcohol is not involved. It's an absolute necessity.
What does a day pass run? Because I would like to see more New Yorkers there. I've met people from literally across the world when I've come to Thrillerfest. Not enough New Yorkers.
It's a great point and something we talk about a lot. I believe a day pass, exactly half of what the entire conference is, or somewhere around there. I think it's around $150 for the full day.
That's a
But I'm
deal,
not sure.
listeners.
It might be less than that.
What's the website that our listeners should go to?
www.thrillerfest.com.
Thrillerfest, that's an easy one. I'm not even going to spell that because I'll botch it if I don't have it in front of me.
There's too many letters that run together. It's
Yes.
like you always leave off the second L in Thriller.
I can't even recite the alphabet anymore. So I actually used to, when I was a kid, thought that LMNOP was like Elemento. I didn't realize it was LMNO. I mean, I was never really, big on the smarts. I could talk a lot. That's all I've done for a living of late. Tell us a little bit about the panels that you have, because I found those really fascinating at Thrillerfest as well.
They are, and what we try to do is find engaging contemporary topics, not necessarily controversial, but things that are of interest. If it was a craft-oriented panel, it would be how to write a bestseller. What are the ingredients of a bestseller? If it was more of a fan-oriented panel, it would be 4 or 5 big-time best-selling authors talking about their experiences in general, but also addressing a specific topic, like where does the big idea come from? All thrillers are driven by what Hitchcock called the MacGuffin. There's always something in thrillers that everybody is after, the quest for some object, for a manuscript, a jewel. I mean, you name it. It's been, I can tell you the book that did it. But so it's this formula that works. And one of the panels we normally will have is about where these ideas come from. How do writers get their ideas? That's the kind of example of a panel.
Well, another thing I've also liked, I'm really going to toot the horn for you here because I enjoyed the conference so much. I know April Smith, who was, I don't know if she's the creator of Cagney and Lacey, but she was a producer and writer. And every once in a while, she's not that prolific, but she writes a great book. She's written a book about a female FBI agent called Good Morning Killer, and there are a few books in that series. And she gave Robert Crace his start, and he was at Thrillerfest and said without her, he probably wouldn't be where he is today. And I've always found that to be something that's very similar with all the writers at Thrillerfest. They are very humble, and they give credit where credit is due. And again, very approachable. So I'd like to see some more New Yorkers show up for this. For $150, you can meet all the people whose books you read on the beach in the summer.
There you go. You could see them in the summer in the air-conditioned halls of the Hyatt. And what you say about Bob Crace, same thing is true about Michael Connolly. Same thing is true. Just about everybody has a story. Harlan Coben, of someone who helped them, someone who did something, and they've never forgotten that. And every time they give a presentation, they give credit, to that person or how they got into the business. The amazing thing about writers, Rob, is there's a tremendous sense of humility that we all know, from the biggest, to the not quite as biggest, that we're very lucky to be where we are, and we're succeeding in a field that is every bit as difficult, or if not more so, than professional sports. Certainly, than acting, than music. It is it's kind of like what Samuel Johnson said about a dog walking on its hind legs. You're surprised when you see it being done well, but you're even more surprised to be seeing it done at all. We're lucky to be where we are, even more likely to have the success that we've had. It
is a true labor-intensive job. And speaking of jobs, you are a very prolific writer. When's your next book coming out? What would we be looking for? Is there a Caitlin Strong novel we can read this summer?
We can in paperback this summer will be Strong Light of Day, Caitlin Strong #7. And then Caitlin Strong, number 8, Strong Cold Dead, which takes the action to a mysterious Indian reservation where murders are starting to up again that are absolutely identical to murders that happened 150 years in the past.
So John writes a series about Caitlin Strong, a female Texas Ranger. I keep urging Jennifer Garner to play the lead role, and
your mouth to God's
one
ears.
of these days she's going to listen to me. So John, we'll have you on again soon, and we'll have a gang from Thrillerfest all on the phone. But thanks so much for joining us, and I will be seeing you soon.
Thanks for having me, Rob.